in 6 minutes starts now.
A threat from the president on day 7 of the partial government shutdown. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. He just tweeted, "We'll be forced to close the southern border entirely if the obstructionist Democrats do not give us the money to finish the wall." Fox's Rachel Sutherland has more on the standoff live from Washington.
Dave, with no sign of an agreement to reopen the government, it's increasingly likely the new Congress, to be seated next week, will inherit the problem. Democratic Congressman Jim McGovern calls the shutdown embarrassing and wrong.
800,000 federal employees will not get paid during this holiday season.
House Freedom Caucus Chair Mark Meadows blames Democrats.
The needle has moved towards a very long shutdown.
The longest government shutdown in U.S. history was in 1996 under President Bill Clinton. It lasted 21 days. Dave.
Rachel, the head of Homeland Security, heads to the Texas border today. Kirsten Nielsen will go to Arizona tomorrow. She's called for more medical screening of kids caught coming here illegally after 2 children died in Border Patrol custody this month. An autopsy shows the 8-year-old boy from Guatemala who died Christmas Eve had the flu. It's day 3 of the manhunt for a suspected cop killer in California who's in the country illegally and accused of murdering Newman officer Ronil Singh at a traffic stop. Chief Randy Richardson.
I did not know Christmas morning at 4 o'clock in the morning when I said goodbye to him and sent him off to his family that it would be the last time that I saw him.
Singh was killed early Wednesday. This could be a big day for Sears, the struggling retailer that's already closed a lot of stores. The deadline for bids to buy Sears out of bankruptcy is this afternoon. And the New York Post reports the only interested buyer is still trying to secure the financing. And if there are no bids, Sears could liquidate and be gone for good. This is Fox News.
What a year. Your home improvement to-do list still isn't to done. But hey, at least you still have time to get the Ford vehicle you've always wanted. Just get to the final days of our holiday sales event. Stop by your local Ford dealer today. It's where you'll find our best offers of the season on Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. So, see you sometime between now and January 2nd. Ford, built for the holidays. And now for a limited time, you can bring home a new F-150 with 0% financing for 72 months, only at your Ford dealer. Not all buyers will qualify for Ford credit financing. 72 months at $1,389 per month per $1,000 finance, regardless of down payment, is available on 18 model year F-150, excludes Raptor. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 1/2/19. See dealer or go to buyfordnow.com for qualifications and complete details.
Day 7 of the partial federal government shutdown looms, and it is not likely that a fully Republican-controlled Congress will be able to reopen business. This stare-down between Congress and the president now looks to spill over into a Democrat-led House. The Miss America organization reinstates New Jersey's pageant group after we were one of several states that had licenses revoked or not renewed in recent months. The Miss New Jersey Education Foundation has a new director and will seek new corporate partners. Starting next month, a new law will kick in that bans smoking at all Jersey beaches and parks. State Senator Shirley Turner, who co-sponsored the measure, says this is a step in the right direction because we know smoking is harmful to the person lighting up.
But it also negatively impacts the health of those people who are experiencing the smoke that's coming from the cigarettes of others.
She's sponsoring another bill that would ban smoking at all Jersey amusement parks, racetracks, sporting events, and boardwalks. I'm Patrick Lavery, and this is the Town Square News Network.
A flood watch is posted for most of South Jersey until 7 o'clock this evening. Moderate to heavy rain throughout the day may cause some ponding and flooding issues, 1 to 2+ inches in the forecast. So it's going to be a wet day. Things are not going to taper off until this evening. 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts are possible as well. High temperatures nice and warm, around 60. Scattered rain showers wrap up this evening, then partial clearing overnight, lows in the mid-40s. Dry with breaks of sun tomorrow. It'll be windy with tumbling temperatures, though. Lower 50s in the morning, 40 degrees by sunset. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarawan, WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Hey, thanks very much. Chuck Malamut is here. He's the official financial advisor exclusively for the Hurley in the Morning program. This program is presented by Chuck Malamut today on a special day, usually Tuesday mornings in the 8 o'clock hour. Chuck is a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast. Subject to change without notice, neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, to say the last 2 days have been a wild ride, and it's not just the last 2 days. Holy smokes. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Harry.
How's it going?
Hope you had a wonderful Christmas.
Truly outstanding. I was sick, so it could have been more perfect that way, but it was wonderful in every other way.
You know, Harry, it was interesting. I was chatting with Mike and Nancy and Kristen just the other day, and it was great that we were off for Christmas, but it was also a lot better because if you remember, Christmas Eve was just Christmas Eve day,
bloodbath
with a 1 p.m. close. In the last 2 hours, just it was negative for the day, but it was just this constant. It felt like constant bleed, constant selling.
And because it ended early, there was no chance to rally.
Yeah, and so for sure, you thought that being off the next day was somewhat helpful, and it was not only that we were off, but Christmas celebrated worldwide, and most markets were closed, and actually in Europe they're closed another day, and I'm not sure the exact schedule in Asia, but coming in to work on Wednesday, we thought we would be very, very pleased if we could just sort of hang on and not have this constant negative bias where everybody's trying to get to the same side of the boat together. And we kind of talked about this multiple times, but to end the day on Wednesday with the kind of movement that we had, and you could tell based on the way, in particular, the Dow was moving, because moving 50, 75, 100 points at a time, literally with a lot of strength going into the end of the day, that there was a lot of short covering, and you can see for sure that a lot of the trading now, and we've talked about this on more than one occasion, is all computer driven. It's algorithmic. We now have tax selling sort of besieged upon us as we get to the end of the year, because if we had this conversation in June, I would say to you, Harry, I really can't help you. I don't have any tax selling. I can't do any harvesting. And what has transpired over the last, in the fourth quarter, it has created, some opportunity to offset gains with losses and still stay in the market if you address it the right way. Then we're up almost 1,100 points, I believe it was on Wednesday. It was the largest point gain ever that the Dow had registered, but not on a percentage basis, because think about where the denominator is now versus where the denominator was, several years ago. And of course, your friends at the media, took that, and ran with that story. Well, it was a great day, but it really wasn't that good. If you can move 1,000 points or 1,100 points in the Dow, I think that's pretty exceptional.
I mean, this shows you the bias, though, Chuck. I mean, I know you don't get into this on your show, but that's so over the top that you even mentioned it, and I commented on it earlier. They made the greatest single-day point gain in the entire history of something. I mean, that would be like if you kicked the longest field goal in the NFL history and someone said, but it really wasn't that good. Wasn't really that good, Chuck.
Yeah, but Mike made a very interesting observation, and he's so correct about it, is the fact that for the longest time, the media just kept on and kept on and kept on with how bad things were, to the point where I think a lot of viewers were turning off, and not looking at the financial market stations, not listening to the radio, not checking their account balances, because oftentimes what happens when you get in times of trouble, people have a tendency to say, well, I don't want to get depressed. I'm not going to look at this right now. And then all of a sudden, in a relatively short period of time, maybe the ratings were down, Harry, and the media is maybe saying, well, geez, we really threw enough cold water on this. We really need to sort of back off. And now all of a sudden, after what has transpired on Wednesday, and yesterday was just a remarkable day. We can get into that in a little bit. Dow down 600 plus points and rallied back and up to, I think it was up 260.
Yep.
So the question at hand here is, are we are these rallies bear market rallies, or did we in fact set a bottom, not too long ago?
Interesting point.
And moving forward in a long-standing, bull market. There's a lot of issues. When was the last time you heard about trade with China?
Good point. It's been a little while.
Now, so there was a meeting.
In the age of Trump, a week seems like a year, but it's been probably a couple weeks.
So there is a meeting, I believe, January 7th. But that sort of has taken a back seat. With all the other media, driven events, because you think about, Harry, not a whole lot is happening, in our world. I mean, there's a lot of people that are off. I mean, hedge funds are trying, to get to the point where they're profitable for the year. So they are. I mean, there are a lot of people still working and not off, because the hedge funds are compensated based on assets under management and profitability. And this has obviously been a very, very tough year for both of those. So hedge funds are going to have some issues. The computers do not take off, as you know.
Nope.
And as a result of that, what we saw yesterday and today, we have a bias to the upside. I believe I looked earlier, it was about plus 220 and then went to 160. I think it's really right now about 100. But you think about Friday before a holiday weekend, it should be quote relatively quiet. But I'm not going to take that to the bank, because there's a whole lot going on in our world.
Chuck, this is more sentimental than anything. I remember I bought my first camera at Sears, and it had I don't know if that's called an f-stop. Before they were automatic, I had to focus it, and we took all our first pictures with our little ones that were now all adults at Disney World and things like that. But when I went to bed, Sears was possibly hours away from non-existence. If somebody doesn't step up, they need an offer. They probably need like a survival $4.6 billion offer, or they're going to cease to exist, it looks like.
Yeah, so you're right, Harry. If a bid does not come in today, then they'll shut down. It's just a matter. Unfortunately, I think it's just a matter of time. And you think about, what a brand. I mean, growing up, it was the first. I remember, Harry,
125 years.
But I remember in the age of the infancy of credit cards.
Yeah, I had one.
But their card was so different, because it was, I think it was 3/4 of the size of a traditional credit card.
Yes.
And they would put the card in the machine, and then you would
slide it across. And then the imprint would actually, people wonder, but they're not like that. Some, I guess, still are, but the numbers are now more printed than they are raised. The reason the numbers were raised back then is because it went into your little manual machine, and you pushed that thing across, and it put your information on what was that purple paper, almost like,
it was like a
mimeograph,
right?
Yeah, type deal, carbon
paper,
yes,
carbon.
Crazy.
Yes, it was.
And by the way, there was no electronic way to even know if you had the credit limit. You just made the purchase. It would be like when you went to get gas and things. They never could tell if your card would actually have the credit limit to make the purchase.
Certainly different world we live in today. But before we move on, I think what I'd like to do is, we talked about this, Harry. This will be the third week in a row. And it's just sort of a quote. Two things. Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
You need to be fearful when others are greedy, and you need to be greedy when others are fearful. And I think, as you're staring down and looking at the stock market over, over the last couple of weeks. No, I'm saying what I'm saying is that, when the world is selling, it's really, really tough, to swallow and say, okay, I need to come in here and be a buyer. And statistically, here's what happens. If in the S&P 500, 8 of the 10 biggest up days over the last 10 years occurred within 1 month of the 10 biggest down days. So do you think that held true as to what we just witnessed and lived through earlier this week? The largest point gain ever in the Dow.
Yep.
Followed, which followed, multiple down days.
Yep.
And the S&P, was down 10, 12, 15% at one point in time, even more during the month. And the other thing that we need to make your listeners aware of is it feels really good when you say, okay, I'm out. You have relieved yourself of this anxiety. Oh my goodness, I'm out. I locked in my profits. I don't have to worry about this anymore. And then you're going to say, well, geez, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to get back in. Well, imagine if you waited and you were out of the market on Wednesday. You missed a 5 and 6% move between the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ. Then the next day you wake up and say, okay, hey, this is going to be okay because it's going to work out for me because the markets are down.
That will clearly, in a year, when we do what we've been doing now for over 27 years, we will say that again. That'll definitely be one of those days. And in the day that followed, I mean, when you look at 1,086 and a 268-point gain for the Dow in 2 consecutive days, that was a lot of the losses for the year made up.
Well, I think, Harry, yesterday's action in all to itself, down 600 plus with a reversal in the last hour where you turn positive in the last 15 minutes.
It's like a 1,000-point swing.
Yeah, it was 800, 900 points, and then all of a sudden you're up, I believe, 260 at the end. And again, a lot of that again was short covering.
Incidentally, about an hour before I signed on, the Dow futures were up 4
this morning.
Yes.
With the Dow right now, I just looked. The implied open is about plus 135.
Okay, so it went up.
But it was like I said, it was 230 this morning, and 230 earlier this morning, 230 points, and down to plus 80 now. But it's going to be sloppy because volume is light and it's pre-market.
Do you think the last couple of today's a trading day and Monday is a trading day, correct?
Monday is a full trading day. That's correct.
And today is a full trading day.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 full trading days left. Is there any expectation that December could be saved?
Well, I think what hopefully will come off is the headline that you constantly are seeing, which says worst December ever since 1931.
Yeah.
And when you're staring at that,
but two strong days could
come off.
That.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that your listeners need to be aware of is, again, and you say this more times than I do. It's not timing the market, but it's spending time in the market. So imagine for a minute, over the last 10 years, if you missed 5 of the biggest days. Now think about this for a minute. Wednesday could be marked as one of the biggest days over the last decade.
I think it will.
Having said that, your return would have been reduced by roughly 35%. So if you stayed in, and hypothetically, and the market was up over that, let's say you're up 10% over that 10-year time horizon, and you miss those 5 biggest days, your net return would be about 6.75%.
So what's the psychology? And I'm not saying you're a psychologist being a financial advisor, but it might be close to it, to be totally honest. I'll say that as a layperson, not to affect you with that comment, but 2008, 2009, you needed to have a pretty tough stomach.
You needed to have an iron stomach. There's no doubt about it.
10 years, that's part of it.
And I think you oftentimes refer to as, okay, I'm out. I locked down my losses.
Yes.
So you can't regain that unless you are astute enough to get in. But There's a couple things that we do in the planning process. When we onboard a new prospective client, oftentimes we do sort of a cash flow retirement analysis, and we come up with what we call a probability of success. And that's based upon your assets, your liabilities, and your spending, and obviously your risk tolerance. And it measures historical returns based on your current asset allocation, or if your allocation is way off where we think your allocation should be. So let's assume for a minute your probability of success is 95%. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we get in times like we've had over the fourth quarter where, we need to take a step back, and we oftentimes advise our clients, say, look, let us rerun. It's called LifeView, your retirement analysis, as we refer to it, and let's see what your probability of success is. And so Harry, is it so terribly bad if you go from a 95% probability to, say, a 92% probability of success?
It's not so bad. I would still say that's within the realm of comfort, and I'd rather be 95, but I'll take 92.
Now, the unfortunate thing is that nobody likes staring at losses,
right?
And we oftentimes say, to our clients and prospective clients, and unless you need all the money today, why are you liquidating?
Especially when you tell the truth about the 10 years and 5 days and 35+% missing out by just being out for 5 days is that's breathtaking. 2-minute break, Chuck. We're going to be right back. Much more straight ahead. As always, Chuck has a very ambitious agenda. He'll be with us for the full hour. Gary Aldrich is standing by in today's fourth and final quarter. It's Hurley in the Morning.
Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 104.1 and WPGTalkRadio.com.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you. This is Harry Hurley for Joe McDermott and Cornerstone Reverse Mortgage. Joe consistently delivers a high-caliber level of personalized service. He makes it a home game for you each and every time. Through Joe, you will learn everything there is to know about what a reverse mortgage really is, and that it can be tailored to create your very own home pension plan. To reach Joe, call 609-335-8480. That's 609-335-8480. Joe also holds a regular monthly 1-hour seminar at his Cornerstone Reverse Mortgage office at 1201 New Road. That's directly across from Mainland Regional High School. Find out from Joe how you can immediately put your own available tax-free revenue to work for you. Joe will come directly to your home. In fact, you can do the whole process without ever leaving your home. Call Joe McDermott to find out how a reverse mortgage can help change your life. Call 609-335-8480 and please tell Joe that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
This is Ventnor's Talk Station, WPG Talk Radio 104.1 and WPGTalkRadio.com.
23 minutes past the hour with Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor, exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program from Morgan Stanley. You can reach Chuck and his team for all of your financial planning needs by dialing 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. Chuck.
So, Harry, one of the items we wanted to talk about today, have we reached what we refer to as a tradable low? And
truthfully, there's no way to know, though, right?
I
hope so.
No, you never know until you don't know, I guess,
right.
is the question. But I think, you think about this. Back towards the end of September, actually it was September the 21st, U.S. stocks as measured by the S&P 500, peaked at 2940. they had then, it had fallen to an intraday low of 2,300 plus. And as you know, December was just an awful month, and like we said before, it could go down as the worst month in history unless something dramatic continues over the next couple of days.
So even with what's happened the last 2 trading days, this is still the worst December since 1931 or 32.
I'm not sure, Harry.
I think maybe we cut into that.
It doesn't. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what it is. It creates another negative biased headline.
Well, how about this? Since we only have today and Monday, we pretty much have the year almost in the rearview mirror, not knowing what's going to happen today, although hopefully today is going to be an up day based on what we hear so far. But how you start doesn't necessarily mean how you finish. In any event, what are we down for the year?
Well, for the quarter, the S&P was going into yesterday was still off 15%. We were about minus 7 to 10, and that's sort of a moving target because you have, you got the Dow, you have the S&P, and the Nasdaq. But I think, if we look at the sell-off, there were a number of things that happened. Investors have become very, very concerned about a slowing economy. And what's interesting, Harry, everybody I talk to, and you mentioned this the other day when we were chatting about Christmas sales, through the roof. MasterCard reported, I believe, up 17 to 20% year over year.
It's gangbusters.
But it's not so much it's a slowdown here, and it's a slowdown globally. So that is a major concern.
See if this is a fair statement. There was great consumer confidence to spend freely for the holiday season, but there's some pessimism going forward.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue is with the consumer is that you're looking through the rearview mirror because it's money that they have either saved or money that is in their pocket that they're ready to spend. And the fact of the matter is it's not so much that what the Fed is allegedly looking at is the fact that we know that, and we're going to need to put it we need to sort of tamper that back or beat that down, so to speak, because we don't want to have a recession. Now, think about the terminology of a recession. Negative back-to-back quarters.
2 quarters.
2 quarters.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that we talked about, and this guy.
By the way, there's no evidence that we're anywhere near.
We're not near it, and it was what was that. One of the major reasons the market sold off, earlier in the month, was the fact that the 2s and the 10s, that being the 2-year Treasury, or the 2s and the 5s, the 2-year Treasury was yielding higher than the 5-year Treasury. So the yield curve inverts. Now, Harry, I've been doing this, as you know, a long time.
Over 30 years.
And it's really the first time I've really heard about the 2s and the 5s. It's always been the 2s and the 10s. And the 2s and the 10s never inverted. Well, guess where the yield curve is today? The 2-year is yielding less than the 5-year, less than the 10-year, less than the 30-year.
Good.
All right, so the curve is now back to that traditional slope. But it's sort of flat in the fact, but it is not inverted.
What do all you financial people that aren't political think of the president trashing the Fed chair in particular, the chair seemingly with his language in this rate hike palooza modality? What do you all think of that?
Well, look, I think I don't know if any president that embraces a Fed chair person or the Fed that increases interest rates during their tenure. Now, I think what's happening here is, with what I'll call as a non-traditional president, or that is not, quote, political.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have social media, which makes it just so easy to broadcast your message in a matter of seconds. Because and President Trump has speak displeasure about Chairman Powell in particular. Now you can't. Now there was a whole other.
I'm going to go there.
There was a whole other discussion.
I know, Mnuchin.
No, for
okay.
putting him aside.
I'm going to bring him up.
But there was a whole other discussion about firing Powell. And the president does not have the ability to do that. But again, that was one of those stories that grabbed hold. And again, because the media was out there broadcasting.
But in fairness, he never said it. The media speculated
and what happened was that the market did not like that.
No, the market didn't like it.
And it was more uncertainty. Now, the other thing, let's get to Mnuchin for a second.
But I want to do a preamble on Mnuchin first. The media went hyperbolic. They went just apoplectic, as though Treasury secretaries have never called financial CEOs. They made this look like some kind of like unprecedented type of deal. I was never buying.
Go back and do some history on
I did.
on LBJ.
LBJ.
I mean, it almost ended up in a fist fight.
Hank Paulson. I mean, you could go on and on. And the president singularly holds Powell responsible for what's been going on, and the markets didn't like it when he said that. But I didn't find anything wrong with Mnuchin basically saying, you guys need anything? Do you have capital for 2019? Is everything okay? What was wrong with it? What was wrong with that?
I think the calls were meant to soothe the market.
Exactly, and they did the opposite.
And unfortunately, the markets, being somewhat perverse a lot of the time, view that as a mess, saying, "Oh my goodness, the financial systems are not as solid, and there's not enough liquidity in the system." Therefore, we have a problem.
Although there was no evidence that there was any problem
no.
whatsoever.
So, in retrospect, were we better off with Mnuchin saying nothing?
Yes.
Yes, probably.
Yes.
When you think about it.
He tried to help, and unfortunately. But it was, once again, in the age of Trump, the speed of Trump, it was a one-day type story.
But let's go back to this, to what happened.
After the halftime break.
Okay.
We'll continue with Chuck Malamut. And a reminder, for all of your financial planning needs, the official financial advisor, exclusive financial advisor for 27 seasons. We start year 28 literally next week. Call 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. After Chuck finishes the thought that he was just about to share, I want to find out from Chuck's perspective, how did the 2018 predictions go? Were they right? Were they wrong? How did all that go? And here's a favor I have to ask if you haven't already done it, because when we do contests that are app-only specific, you need to have the WPG app on your smartphone. It takes about 1 minute. There's no charge. If you have an iPhone, you go right to your app store. If you have an Android phone, and what I mean by that, maybe you have a Samsung or an LG or anything that's not an Apple product, not an iPhone, you go to the Android marketplace. Takes 1 minute, and if you go to WPG, the link is right there, but you can go right to your app store. It's the quickest way to do it. Type in WPG. You'll see the WPG Talk Radio 104.1 icon, our logo. Click on that. In 1 minute, you'll have it. It will import directly to your home screen, and then when we're doing contests, your opportunity to play and win, whether it's Win Harry's Cash or going to New York to Fox News, or any of the things that we do that can be app-specific at times. Contests, show tickets, whatever it might be. Download the app, and if you can, do it right now. It'll take 1 minute. Here's a little bit more about the WPG app.
Download the WPG Talk Radio app for your iPhone or Droid and take South Jersey's talk station wherever you go. Get the latest South Jersey news right at your fingertips. Listen to and instantly call all of your favorite talk shows. Stay connected to the Philadelphia Flyers. Wake up with Harry Hurley using the alarm clock feature and more. It's the WPG Talk Radio app for your iPhone or Droid. Download it now at WPGTalkRadio.com.
This is Harry Hurley for All Season Solar, our official and exclusive solar energy provider to the Hurley in the Morning program. They design and they install the most attractive, efficient, state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic systems from the world's leading manufacturers. What I love about dealing with All Season Solar, they're your single point of contact. They do the system design, engineering, your building permits, installation, and the ultimate glorious utility connection day. They take care of everything under the sun so that you can sit back and reap the savings. Call Frank Neal today, 609-317-5491. That's Frank Neal, All Season Solar, 609-317-5491. There's never been a better time to go solar. The benefits are there. New Jersey leads the East Coast and second largest in the entire United States in terms of solar energy panel installation. No deposits, no hidden fees, no out-of-pocket costs. All season solar. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you.
Attention 16 to 18-year-olds. If you did not graduate high school and are looking for a drug-free environment to get your diploma, the New Jersey Youth Challenge Academy is an option for a better future. Call 609-556-6080 if you are up for the challenge. Dream, believe, achieve. Call 609-556-6080.
Sponsored by New Jersey National Guard County Drug Task Force Asset Forfeiture Fund, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
For nearly 40 years in the Ducktown section of Atlantic City at the corner of Arctic and Georgia Avenues, Angeloni's 2 Restaurant and Lounge has featured the finest Italian-American cuisine in Atlantic City, preparing all meals to order. Lunch is served Monday through Friday, dinner 7 nights a week. Mama Angeloni's reigns supreme on Sundays from 4 to 11 p.m. You can select from a wide variety of fabulous 4-course $25 dinner selections for groups of 10 or less. Mama Angeloni's will only be available on a cash basis. I'm excited to announce that this will keep the special menu price at $25. Otherwise, the price would have to raise to $27 per person. Angeloni's 2 also presents the most interesting Monday nights at the bar from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., featuring reduced adult beverages and appetizers. Additional complimentary food will be served on the hour. The food will change weekly, at times even hourly. To make a reservation, call Angeloni's 2 Restaurant and Lounge at 609-344-7875.
Brian Kilmeade is next at 10. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
This portion of Hurley in the Morning also brought to us by the exclusive cosmetic and restorative dentist for the Hurley in the Morning program, my very, very good friend, Dr. Alan Chenman, who practices a full scope of general cosmetic and implant dentistry, along with his expertise ranging from porcelain veneers to dental implants, crowns, bridges, inlays, onlays. It continues on and on and on and on. Dr. Chenman can correct a wide variety of the permanent cosmetic dental problems. He can literally redesign your smile. As always, don't take my word for it. Go to his website, smilecenterNJ.com. Click on the photo gallery at Center Cut right on the website. You'll see it. The hyperlink is right there, and you can view with your own eyes before and after cases. The results are truly transformational, and these are unretouched photos. Dr. Chenman, conveniently located 1999 New Road, Suite D in Linwood. The first step towards a beautiful, healthy smile is to schedule your appointment. Call Dr. Chenman today, 609-601-2199. Remember, we live in an age where you have to dial the area code because there's a new area code in our marketplace, 609-601-2199. Chuck, I use the area code for the last 27 years. Who knew 27 years later you would have to do it?
Harry,
I'm ahead of my time.
No.
We're behind the time.
Well, I guess on our phone system, which is voice over internet, we have to dial the area code.
We all have to dial the area code.
No, I mean this was before. I mean, so we always had to dial the area
That's
code.
True.
So to us, it doesn't come as any
change.
surprise. But so let's, before we move on, as far as what good, bad, or indifferent in 2018. There were a number of issues, Harry, that created the market to do what it did in the fourth quarter. Now, we talked about, just before the break, about investors getting, pretty amped up about a slowing economy and a possible near-term recession. I think we kind of threw cold water on the recession, but, a slowing global economy, I think, is obviously an issue. Something we talked about the Fed. And the way they're, not only is it the way they're increasing rates, but the language that is being dispelled. I mean, if you think about Chairman Powell a couple of weeks ago, he read, or they read the prepared comments. Mm-hmm. The markets took it in stride, and then when it became. And then they had the press conference, like around 2:15, and then you could just see the market just falling apart as he's making his comments.
And it wasn't the 25 basis points; it's his language, correct?
Well, I think there's two words: autopilot. When he made the statement, Chairman Powell, that he and the Fed were in a position to keep the buyback, a reduction of the balance sheet that the Fed has outstanding, on an autopilot of $50 billion a month. The markets just went berserk. Not so much because of the buyback, but the attitude saying, "Well, we're good. We're just going to keep going,
no matter what." It's almost like we'll ignore conditions on the ground. This is our plan, and they don't seem to be willing to adapt to changing circumstances.
Well, but a couple days later, one of the Fed presidents, I'm not sure from which region, actually was being interviewed, and he walked that back a little bit and said, "No. This is an economy that we have to view based on all the data that we're provided."
What do you think of the lay people out there? I'm one of them, that we think the Fed is sabotaging the current president in the run-up to a national election.
Harry, for the longest time we've been doing this, and I always, took the other side of that wager. And I'm not so certain that I'm going to stay on that side of the fence right now because of the fact that, the 25 basis point increase was, probably in the cards and had to be done. The question at hand is, as we get into 2019, initially the conversation was 4 rate hikes down to 2, and now I've heard 0, and some actually saying that no, there's going to be a decrease in rates.
That would be wonderful.
So now what happens is,
I would take back what I said.
Yeah. So I tend to agree with you right now, but I'm thinking that based upon their actions that are taken in 19, we're going to really know if it's a politically driven event or is it for real.
I think that's a really fair comment, Chuck. Professionally and literally, you can't really answer that any better. The thing I will say is, since computers aren't doing this and humans are, the president calling out the Fed chair and really emasculating the Fed chair, ripping into the Fed chair, it almost makes the Fed chair, if he wants to be able to go to the coffee klatches and to the hoity dinners and everything, he's almost has to punch back, or he looks like he's getting completely just
annihilated. Yes.
Right. So when I say that, none of this we shouldn't even be able to talk about this like this, because none of that should be in the equation. But I think it is.
But Harry, I think the 25 basis point increase that we just witnessed a couple weeks ago. Think about, think about if they did not go. 98% strategists, analysts, economists were saying that, based on the data that the Fed has provided, they need to go. They need to make that move. Imagine if they reversed themselves and did nothing. Then all of a sudden, I think the market would have really taken that the wrong way, Harry. I don't think the market would have moved up. I think the market would have had a significant sell-off, saying, well, geez, maybe there's a lot of things out there that we don't know that's going on that we need to be aware of, a la, quote-unquote, a recession, increased unemployment. I mean, there could be even a number of things. But let me get back to, what happened here, in the fourth quarter. So we talked about the Fed. We talked about the economy. We talked a little about U.S. and China. That has really taken a back seat. But those issues obviously are unresolved, and it has the potential to disrupt growth. The other thing that happened, we kind of talked about, all the program trading that is happening, all the passive investing in ETFs, that's exasperated all the above. And, the fact of the matter is we're in the middle of a holiday. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that are off, pretty much a low liquidity environment, which exasperates the volatility on both sides, and then ultimately of tax-related selling.
Low, that's a good point. That is a very good point. That last mention, before you said that, I was just going to jump in with, in the last 2 days, very low volume days.
Yeah, so what happens is, let's go back historically a little bit.
Do you think people have paid attention to what's going to happen? I mean, Monday's going to come and go, and people that did not take care of business could be very disadvantaged if they didn't take a look at exactly what they should have done before the end of the year.
There are some very, very large mutual funds, large in assets under management. And a lot of those are in that large cap growth space that paid out significant capital gain distributions to the tune of 10% of the net asset value of the fund. So let's think for this for a second. You have a large cap growth fund and it's valued at $100,000. And it pays out a $10,000 capital gain distribution because funds are required to pay out at the end of the year all the gains. It doesn't matter where the fund is sitting right now. So that $10,000 gain, typically
taxable event.
Yeah, typically gets reinvested back into your position. So you still own $100,000 of the fund, but now your basis is higher from an accounting perspective. So you might have an opportunity to actually have a position, and we see this a lot of times, that the net value increase, let's say the net value increase is $50,000. You started with 50, it's worth 100. But from a tax perspective, you can take a $10,000, $15,000 loss because all over the years you've been reinvesting your capital gains, which drives your basis. Now, if you do nothing, you will get a 1099 or a tax reporting statement at the end of January with that $10,000 capital gain distribution plus everything else that you've done. Dividends, obviously you can't do anything with dividends. Interest, whether it's taxable or tax exempt, you really can't do much about that. But
we're talking big blunder.
But if we have spent literally the last 3 weeks working with our clients in an effort to reduce or minimize or eliminate their capital gain distributions. And shame on a financial advisor that doesn't do it. And for those that are the independents that do it themselves, you have 2 days to figure it out. Because if not, come April, you're going to get handed a nice little tax bill you have to pay.
And people are going to get hurt. We'll be back. Chuck Malamut continues. One more power segment. That's it for 2018. I can't believe that this is our last broadcast of the year with Chuck. Stunning. And we'll come back strong in the new year. Let your heart not be troubled there. We'll be back Hurley in the Morning with the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Chuck Malamut. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the Malamut Group, 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. Among other topics, if there's additional on manufacturing output, we'll get into that. Also, the cost of college education, China versus the United States. A lot more to cover in our final segment in just a few minutes.
Hurley in the Morning, WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff, Linwood, and Philadelphia.
It's cold and flu season, and physical fitness and immunity are closely linked. In fact, several National Institutes of Health studies recommend walking for 20 to 30 minutes a day in order to ward off illness. If you happen to be plagued by repeat winter colds and flu, exercise will be your immune-boosting ally this winter. Walking or any form of moderate to intense exercise increases body temperature, which helps fight bacteria because most bacteria and viruses can only survive in a narrow temperature range. By making our body hotter, it may help kill off infectious organisms and reduce serious seasonal illness. Of course, if you're too sick to muster the energy to exercise, it's time to see your doctor. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff in Linwood. Attention you expect, results you deserve.
Just how good does a Sport Clips Championship haircut experience make you feel? Like your hair has its own walk-up music. No matter what kind of guy you are. Maybe you play sports. Maybe you play sports online. Or maybe your sport is just keeping up with your kids. Your hair deserves its own walk-up music. And at Sport Clips, we make it easy. Just check in online and head to Sport Clips. You'll get a game-changing cut from a stylist trained for guys. Then go big with the MVP experience and finish strong by tightening up that beard and getting your hair styled just right. Hair this good needs no introduction, but you'll want one anyway. So get in line online today at sportclips.com/check-in and get your hair in the game.
Sport Clips Haircuts is the official and exclusive hair cuttery for the Hurley in the Morning program. It's Margie and Vaughn Reels Sport Clips Haircuts, located in Mays Landing, Summers Point, and Deptford, New Jersey.
We know it by one name, Deborah. The legendary hospital Albert Einstein supported with a personal check, and First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and President Gerald Ford personally visited. It's also the place that history records as the home of New Jersey's first open-heart surgery. Today, Deborah Heart and Lung Center is a thriving, award-winning, nationally recognized heart hospital and comprehensive ambulatory care center. A unique cardiovascular medical center for innovation and research and discovery that still honors its nearly 100-year-old mission to give every patient the best care possible without exception. Deborah Heart and Lung Center. When it comes to your family's health, never compromise. Demand Deborah. Request an outpatient appointment at demanddeborah.org.
'Tis the season to be sharing, and that's exactly what Burke Buick GMC is doing. Now until the end of the year, lease any new Buick or GMC, and Burke will make your first 5 payments. That's 5 payments on them. You pick it, Burke pays it for 5 full months. That's no payments until May 2019. Burke has over 150 new GM vehicles in stock and inbound. And all you need to do is choose 5 months, no payments. If that doesn't get you going, how about a GM supplier price on all new Buick GMC vehicles? You heard it right. Buy and get a GM supplier price, and Burke will make your first 5 payments, and at no charge. Everyone receives a Burke promise. See dealer for details or visit BurkeMotorGroup.com.
This is Doug Burke. Let us show you why for over 105 years and 4 generations it's better at Burke. See us off exit 10 of the Garden State Parkway or at BurkeMotorGroup.com.
Max lease payment is $350, cannot exceed $1,500, subject to credit approval with their primary lender.
Hi, it's Mark Levin, and thank you for listening to South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
We're back. Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. A reminder, Chuck is the managing director. He leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. The number for all of your financial planning needs, 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. Chuck, in terms of, and we'll do the year in review next week with Chuck's normal day being on the New Year holiday, New Year's Day itself. Chuck will be with us 1 week from today in the 8 o'clock hour, and then back the following Tuesday. We'll be back on schedule, so we'll have Chuck, that'll be twice in 3 days or so. So more Chuck is always a good thing. Chuck, U.S. manufacturing output.
Let me hold that for a second, because Harry, I want to still talk about that tradable low that I think we witnessed here. It's pretty rare that you see, stocks. What we experienced, a sharp sell-off followed by a recession. Now, we think that is not the case here.
Let me go back a step. How unusual is it to have a sharp sell-off and then such a robust?
Well, no. But the question is: is this in a bear market? Mm-hmm. Is this a bear market rally?
Yeah,
that's the question at hand. Or, in fact, are we still in that long-standing equity bull market that we've had over the last 10 years? We still think there's room to go here on the bull side. But, think about a number of events that had happened that we had sharp sell-offs, historically speaking, and it wasn't followed by the recession. So in 1987, as an example, slow growth, and remember the portfolio insurance that was oftentimes talked about. We had that Black Monday, which led to a 34% decline in stock prices that had occurred over 3 months. Then in 1998, stocks fell by about 20% in 2 months, and the event there was the Asian currency crisis. And then most recently, just in 2016, we had a 13% decline over 3 months due to slowing growth in Asia, a sell-off on the dollar, and falling oil prices. So, the takeaway here, Harry, for you and your listeners is that those three moments in time, they all prove to be temporary events. And without a significant shift in economic fundamentals, meaning like are we having a recession, we don't expect a prolonged bear market here. So, and then, the question is, did we in fact have a tradable balance? And I think that might have happened earlier this week, Christmas Eve, as you walked away, and the day after when the markets, I think, were down early and then rallied back. But look, I'm not going to sit here and make predictions. I think it would be rather foolish of me. And if any of your listeners can do that, more power to them. But most of the time, the old adage, and you oftentimes espouse, is that it's spending time in the market, not trying to time the market. So like I said, I think we did have that tradable balance. It was pretty obvious as to what happened over the last 3 days. Okay.
Very good analysis, Chuck. U.S. manufacturing output. Thoughts?
Yeah. So Harry, what is happening here is that after you adjust for inflation and you look at manufacturing, output in the U.S., it's up 62% over the last 30 years. However, the number of manufacturing jobs in our country have declined by roughly 30% over the same 30 years, falling from 17.8 million to roughly 12.6 million. So, and I think a lot of that is due to the enhancements within technology. So, oftentimes we are told about all the manufacturing that is being accomplished outside our country, but I think that we need to really take a step back and say, things have actually improved, pretty significantly over the last 30 years here.
This is something that's been, I believe, consistently excellent on your part. You've always, for almost going on 3 decades here and more than 3 decades in your business, really focused on college building and starting now, whenever now is, starting now. If it's the baby is not born yet, that's the optimum. If it's right after the baby's born, sooner the better. Thoughts about college and the cost and all that.
So Harry, I kind of we sort of take this personally. I think all of us do, in the fact that literally winter and spring semester money is due now. As I sat home last night, sending that across to Stockton and University of Delaware, and I'm saying, oh, how timely. And then a very, very good friend of ours, that was our boss many, many years ago, proud grandparent for the second time.
You got to send my regards to him.
I will. And he basically said, look, I need to get this 529 open now.
Yeah.
And I said, well,
smart.
I said, let's go ahead and do that. But the average cost today, tuition, room, board, fees, 4-year public college, about $21,000. Guess what? Up 5.5% per year over the last 30 years. What have we often talked about? Like, what a great business where you don't have to justify to your customers why you are increasing your rates.
It's just the rate. You pay it.
Now, if that inflation, if that continues, that same rate of inflation, at 5.5% a year over the next decade, you have any idea what that average in-state public college education will cost for 1 year? We're $20,500, call it $21,000 right now. We'll round it up.
Well, if it's an average of 5% a year
over the next,
so it's $5,000 or so a year.
$35,000. You'll be at $35,400 10 years from now. And I'm not knocking a public school. There's nothing wrong with a in-state public college. It's fine. We have some really, really great schools here in New Jersey. So the cost of a private university is at least double what you have in an in-state school. So imagine you're $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 a year now, Harry. $60,000 a year, you're going to be paying $100,000 a year for college. That is insane.
Yeah, unsustainable. I would think it's gonna hurt a lot of people.
So listen, we're getting played off. So I want to take a minute here. I want to wish you and your family a wonderful New Year.
Thank you, Chuck.
Harry, you have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Over this weekend.
Yes.
To catch your very, very good friend,
Chuck Malamut.
Okay.
I don't think you're catchable. I think it's over. I'm the defending reigning champion, soon to be defrocked.
But you will take that crown and move it on to whoever the next person may be.
But all I want for this weekend is for Notre Dame to win on Saturday, and for the Eagles to win on Sunday,
Saturday, and Minnesota to lose.
That's not asking too much, right?
That's a perfect trifecta.
Thank you, Chuck.
Harry.
Happy New Year, bro.
You have the playoffs. You can make it up.
I thank you.
See you.
Thanks for your confidence.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
It's day 7 of the partial government shutdown. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Is Nancy Pelosi's speakership worth leaving the border unprotected? That's the discussion that we wish people would be having.
Incoming White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney wants people to blame Democrats, but a Reuters Ipsos poll shows more Americans blame President Trump, who tweeted this morning will close the southern border entirely if obstructionist Democrats don't give him wall funding. But Congressman Jim McGovern says
Democrats will step up to the plate.